Hello everyone, my name is Mehruza Nasirova. Today I will be talking about privacy in the workplace, specifically employee monitoring and digital rights. This topic matters because employers can now track much more than attendance. They can track things like keystrokes, screenshots, website activity, and even the location. My main argument is that monitoring should be limited, transparent, and respectful of employee rights. Employee monitoring has grown a lot in digital workplace, especially with remote work and data-driven management. The issue is not just whether monitoring helps employers. In some cases it does. The bigger question is where normal supervision ends and excessive surveillance begins. My position is that monitoring should not only be used when it's clearly necessary, openly explained, and balanced against employee privacy and dignity. Employee monitoring today covers much more than most people think. It can track activity like keystrokes, screenshots, browser history, and app usage. It can also monitor emails, chats, calls, locations, and badge access, and even use of AI-based scoring tools. What makes this important is that these tools do not just collect information, they can shape how workers are evaluated. For example, a system might measure how long someone is active online, how quickly they respond, or how often they switch between programs. That may sound objective, but it doesn't always show the real quality of a person's work. A worker might be doing thoughtful, complex work and still look less productive, or monitoring dashboard that someone doing faster but simpler tasks. So this is not just about technology. It's about turning everyday work behavior into a data that can affect management decisions, job security, and the performance reviews. To be fair, employers do have reasons for monitoring. They may want to improve productivity, protect company systems, prevent fraud, or meet safety and compliance requirements. So the issue is not whether all monitoring is wrong. The real issue whether the monitoring is necessary and proportionate or whether it becomes too intrusive for a purpose it claims to serve. When monitoring goes too far, workers can experience real harm. It can reduce privacy, increase stress, and weaken trust between employees and management. It can also create pressure to perform for the system instead of doing meaningful work. Another problem is that digital metrics are not always fair. If workers are judged by incomplete or inaccurate data, monitoring can become demoralizing or even dehumanizing. This matters because workplace culture affects how people perform or how they feel about their job. When employees believe they are constantly being watched, they may become more anxious, less creative, and less willingly to communicating honestly. Instead of building a healthy work environment, excessive surveillance can create fear and resentment, maybe. So, even when monitoring is presented as efficient, it can come with hidden social costs that damage moral, trust, and long term productivity. The legal side of employee monitoring is complicated because the rules are not the same everywhere. In the United States, employers are often have broad power to monitor company systems, but there's still limits from a labor law, anti-discrimination law, and some privacy rules. In the UK and Europe, privacy protections are usually stronger, with more emphasis on transparency, proportionality, and data minimization. This means the same monitoring tool may be treated differently depending on where employees are located and how the tools are being used. For example, a company may believe it's simply improving efficiency, but if the monitoring is too intrusive and poorly explained, unfairly used in decision making, it can create a legal risk. So even if company can monitor, that does not always mean it should, or that is a legally low risk. The legal question is not only whether monitoring exists, but whether it's justified, limited, or used responsibly. This issue can be looked at through right-based ethics and by looking at the overall consequences of monitoring. From a right-based view, employees are people with dignity, not just data points. They deserve notes, explanation, and reasonable limits on surveillance. We can also judge monitoring by its overall effects. Some monitoring may be justified if it creates clear benefits with limited harm. But if it creates stress, weakens trust, or relies on unfair metrics, then the harm may outweigh the benefits. This is important because employers often focus on what technology allows them to do instead of asking what they should do. Just because a company has ability to collect more data does not automatically make that collection ethical. So ethically, monitoring should be necessary, proportionate, transparent, and secure. If company cannot clearly explain why monitoring is needed, who can access data or how long is kept, why is the less intrusive option was not used, then the monitoring become much more harder to justify. Globally, workplace privacy is not just understood the same and say are the same everywhere. In the United States, the focus is often more on business purposes and management control. In Europe and the UK, there is usually more emphasis on protecting workers' data and limiting intrusive monitoring. This means a system that seems normal in one country may be seen as excessive or even unlawful in another. The difference is important for international companies. A local employer may want one standard system for all workers, but privacy expectation and legal standards are not identical across countries. Some countries place much more stronger emphasis on employees' dignity and the idea that workers do not lose all privacy just because they are at work. So the global lesson is that employee monitoring is not just a workplace issue. It's also shaped by different legal system, cultural expectations, and ideas about workers' rights. The best solution is not zero monitoring. It's responsible monitoring with clear limits. Employers should explain what they collect and why. They should limit monitoring to real business needs, collect less data, keep it for less time, and review system for fairness. They should also focus on more outcomes than constant surveillance, right? In most cases, clear expectations and good management work better than watching workers every minute. Another important recommendation is human review. Employers should not rely entirely on automated systems or dashboards when making serious decisions about workers. Data can be incomplete, misleading, or biased. Human judgment is still necessary, especially when performance, discipline, or job security are involved. Overall, good policy means using monitoring carefully, clearly, and only when it truly serves a legitimate purpose. In conclusion, employers may have valid reasons to monitor some parts of work, but privacy still deserves a boundary. Responsible monitoring should be transparent, minimal, lawful, and human centered. Productivity should not come from fear, hidden surveillance, or a flawed scoring system. This issue matters because technology is changing the balance of power at work. The more employers can measure, the more important it becomes to ask what limits should exist. The main takeaway is not monitoring may be allowed. It should never become unlimited or dehumanizing. A fair workplace should protect both organizational needs and employees' dignity. Thank you for your attention. These are main current sources I use for this presentation. Thank you.